Welcome to episode 326 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name is John, and I'm joined by Brian.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and we command the hordes one last time in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
So we finished up our RTS games this month with Goblin Commander Unleash the Horde on the PlayStation 2. And it was interesting, dude. I actually played a little bit just before we started recording here, and I liked it, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely different, like trying to see all these different strategy games this month. We'll kind of go over maybe some highlights of the month and like what all we liked of these different games. But besides that, today, the console wars are over, everybody. Now we're left to guess at the fallout and the aftermath. And then we're looking at the figures for December, and it seems like Microsoft's probably going to be in pretty good shape on the tail end of this. And then we close out with that inflation deflation on Goblin Commander.
And of course, you can find us on the GameDeflators.com. You can also find us on social media at Game Deflators on X, at The Game Deflators on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. We're also on your favorite podcast application, so catch us there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the little bell so you know when we're on. We do some streaming on there occasionally as well. So, of course, you can see us be crappy at games. All right.
Woo!
Let's jump into our recent pickups. So, I don't have anything to show this week, but you saw it yesterday when you came over. I ended up picking up an additional arcade 1-up stool for my setup. So that one is a Pac-Man one. And dude, it's pretty badass.
It looks good.
Yeah. I think they sent me the wrong one because that same seller on eBay had two copies or two for sale. One of them is used, and then they had another one listed as new. And it said there's some light wear and tear from everyday use on the stool. Well, when I got it, it was all wrapped up 100% in brand new packaging. Like it had never been opened. So I'm assuming they sent me the wrong one, but that was $40 free shipping for that. And that stool in general, I've seen usually for about $99 to $120 new.
Okay.
So
$40 stools are expensive.
Yeah, dude. $40 is a good deal though when it's all said and done. So pretty happy with that one. And that officially kind of completes what I wanted to do in that space with those arcade 1-up machines. It's just given the height of them, it's a little different when you're trying to play on one of those. Like it's kind of nice to be able to sit down and play.
Yeah.
So that was the main
They're
reason
a little
behind
hunchy.
that. Yeah, exactly. They're a little hunchy when you're standing, but sitting, it's a little easier, just kind of control. So definitely excited we got those set up. And now that we have two, it'll be easy to kind of set two next to each other whenever we're playing some Mortal Kombat, or of course taking turns on Centipede and such. So yeah, good stuff there. And then that was really my only pickup this week. I've been out of town and wouldn't have been able to play any video games since I was out of town, but we did play D&D last night.
It's not like you have all these handheld consoles or anything, John.
Dude, I was busy. It was one of those situations where you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're at work the entire time, and then you have networking functions you're doing as well, and you're not done until probably about 9:30. And then there's after party stuff they want you to go to, and that ends at like midnight on most nights, which is kind of insane. So it was really that for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, got back Thursday night at like 9:30 here in Arizona, conked out pretty quickly, and then the next day I had to work again. So, and I fell asleep early. I honestly on Friday I fell asleep like 8:30 at night. So there was no gaming this week, dude. But we did play D&D last night for the first time in a while. We jumped back into Strixhaven, which was pretty exciting.
It was a good time.
Back into that. Yeah. So I don't know where we left off with people on that particular campaign, but really what it kind of came down to is Seeker, Joel's character. As we know, he is going to be going under trial for drug manufacturing and drug trafficking, as well as
it's just strong coffee, man.
Yeah, it's just strong coffee, but they're trying to manipulate it, right? As well as what was the other thing? Charming students and putting them to sleep. They were trying to get them on that as well. And so you guys were informed that the student body president, Kaharis, was actively blackmailing students to be able to testify against Seeker. And so your goal was to go into the office of student body president. I was hoping it was going to be like this big stealth mission where all of you guys were going to be going in. And,
you sure did.
Yeah. And then, you guys would make your way to the office and knock out a few people. No, it ended up just being
At
Joel
least we
going
did a
undercover.
different approach. Like I
You
was
did.
saying before we went in, it was going to be like every other time. Like every other time in this campaign when we've had to do something that's like infiltrating, we spend 40 minutes discussing like how many tiny mushrooms we have and who's going to go in through the ceiling.
You guys could have used
And then
tiny
we come up with
mushrooms.
a whole bland plan B and do that instead.
Well, what's crazy is that I was expecting you guys to do like really a stealth, like recon type mission where you'd go in and out and nobody would be any wiser as to you guys entering this building and stealing the blackmail from the student body president. But no, you guys went in sort of like guns blazing, sort of not. Joel decided to disguise self and go in as, of course, Kaharis and made up this whole thing of like, oh, I twisted my ankle. And it's like, you could have healed it yourself, though. So why are you back here to get
Dude,
healing?
it's a magic school. Nobody
I
heals
know.
themselves or does anything.
Well, I mean, you would have thought. So either way, he goes undercover, and at some point, you're not 100% sure what happened, but students were coming back, and
Mhm.
the suspicion was that, hey, the gig is up or whatever, and or the jig is up. I don't know.
Jig.
Jig, the jig is up. Yeah. So yeah, Joel decided to acid bath all of the blackmail and destroy it, and then put like notes and everything as if like it was another group that did it, or it was the individuals that were being blackmailed.
Yeah.
We'll see. I had to roll for that to see how well that was done. And then your character decided to streak everywhere. I was not expecting that, but
Hey, it
um,
was a perfect distraction.
oh, it was. Yeah, you rolled for
And I'm
distraction,
glad I
and
learned that foreign language.
yeah, I don't remember when you did that, but apparently you know it. Uh, so yeah, you screaming Thrycreen and rushing with your pants off across campus. That's great. And then, of course, later on, after that, we proceeded to the biblioplex where we had photo negatives of the students who were blackmailed to just make sure all evidence was destroyed. And Ryan's character again went streaking, and this time at least he covered his face and he tied a bandana across, a certain area, hit it with some light, and went across campus. And while a photo was taken, it only captured one general area of his body. And there's a new alias for Ryan. Nobody's aware of his character's, true intentions here, but the Rod is now alive and well on the Strixhaven campus.
Yes.
It is a silhouette with a bright light and just a shaft.
Long
Yeah,
live
yeah.
the rod.
Long live the Rod. And then you guys made your way back to your dorm rooms. You studied for the upcoming test. Most of you failed a portion of that test. My wife's character failed completely, which is hilarious. Dude, she rolled like ones and fives the whole time. It
Yeah.
was great. And then, of course, Joel's character passed with flying colors because that's
Sometimes
what he
it's just
does.
not with you.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's kind of where we ended. And then you were informed that there's like a rare book that you need to find for a teacher to help him, create the final exams. And you were going to make your way over there. But of course, we'll have the trial of Seeker coming up first, where he'll be represented by Philip Goldstein, the small gnome lawyer that is in Strixhaven.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be good times. I'm excited for that. And then hopefully we'll kind of progress towards our like time travel story and all of that that's tied in too. So this is more of like sidebar, fun side quest type stuff that's built into the campaign, and we'll see where it goes. Oh, and you
Yeah.
guys battle the blue slot as well. Again,
And it turned him into a clown for a few turns.
yeah, yeah, that was interesting. I had to look up. I did not realize that 5e had so many different clown variants.
I didn't either.
Dude, when I was telling you guys, like, yeah, I wanted to beef it up a little bit. Um, like for one thing, I wasn't expecting a clown, right? And it's not like there's a standard clown stat like there is a creature. So I was like, okay, well, he has multiple attacks. Let me just make sure it's gonna let me raise up the AC just a little bit because it was way too low for what I was looking to do. And I know people complain, they're like, oh, well, it's polymorph, like it's supposed to be, whatever it polymorphs into, you keep the base stats. I'm like, yeah, but there's like 10 clowns to choose from. And it's like, it's either way too overpowered or it's way too weak or there's nothing in the middle. So I had to kind of fiddle with it on the fly. But I think you guys did a good job with that one. It was kind of funny. And we played some clown core in the background for VM music. So, which is creepy as hell, dude.
Yeah, it was weird.
That's it for me. So,
All right. So I did not have any pickups this week. I did talk last week a little bit. I downloaded the Ninja Gaiden Black 2 remaster because it was out on Game Pass. I tried out the first couple of levels of that. Not really for me. So I don't know. I beat the first boss, but I didn't really feel like anything playing the game. And some of the platforming was just like a little bit tight. And I was only playing on normal, so it was like I wasn't getting my ass handed to me. Um and I don't know. It's just not the game for me. So I'm moving on from that. I haven't really played any other games this week except for Pokemon Pocket TCG because we got the Space Time Smackdown out expansion. It's been really
Yep.
good.
No, it hasn't.
John has had horrible luck. I've
You
had
saw it, dude.
amazing luck.
You saw it. I opened 10 packs in a row and I got 1 EX and everything else is trash. And that's happened twice now. In fact, the first
Yeah,
time I got no EX. So I've opened like 30 packs of that new set and I have 1 EX pool.
that's
That's that's garbage.
pretty low. But I
Yeah.
mean, it all depends on what you're trying to play. Like the deck that I'm playing, I don't use any EX for it. I've been playing the Lucario Kabutops
Well,
with a splash of a Marshadow and a Hitmonlee in there.
it's merely
So
just for
good.
like the collecting purposes though. And it's like I'm not getting anything. So I haven't opened my packs today. So I'm gonna open it live for you right
Okay.
now. You said the Dialga
Everybody
pack,
give John your energy, spirit bomb.
Spirit
Send him
Bomb
all your
energy.
power.
All right, let's see. All right, Ryan.
What
Is
you
it
got, John?
trash? Is it trash? Oh, nope. There's a shiny card. All right, let's
What you
see.
get?
Let's see. Look at that. I
Oh,
got,
Gallade.
yeah, there we go. All right, cool. I got an EX card. Maybe I should just crack my packs open on Sundays.
There you go.
Just do it here on the podcast live. Let's see. I don't think I have any other packs available right now. But I've collected 2,000 cards officially. Yeah, I don't have any other packs, so we're good for the day. But hey, not too bad. Got an EX. That
Yeah,
worked out.
I've got strategy stuff going on right now. So I've been trading between my iPad and my phone, and I got the last thing I needed this morning over. I was missing a Snorlax, and now I've completed the genetic Apex, like the whole base set.
Nice.
And I also traded over 1-star like full art Eevee, where she's like looking up over the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And I completed the like there's like a 1-star set for each of the packs. And once you collect all those, it's like the genetic Apex Museum, Charizard, and Pikachu and Mewtwo. So I just need the Slowpoke that's the full art 1-star, and I'll be able to complete the third like secret mission of that. Each one of those gives you 12 packs. I'm trying to stack 240 hourglasses
Nice.
right now, because once I have that stacked, I think that will mean that I wound up doing the strategy that John had kind of come up with on January 31st. I paid for the premium, so that should give me like 30 days of premium. So I got all the rewards for January. I'll get all the rewards for February before it's over, and I'll have hopefully stacked enough hourglasses that on like the first day of March, I can just spam open packs and complete all the premium rewards for March as well. So I should be able to try to get 3 months for the price of one here.
There you go. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, we'll see if it works. Otherwise I'm just like it sucks. Like I want to open packs and I've got like 154 hourglasses again already from completing all of the solo missions and now trying to get these like last few things through trading. They did also make an announcement, if you didn't see, that they are going to revisit the trading. They got so much like negative feedback from the trade release because it's a little ridiculous. Like you have to burn so many cards in
Mm-hmm.
order to get enough to be able to trade, because it's like most of what you're burning is going to be 3 diamond cards, because that's what rarity you're going to have the most of that actually gets you any reward, and that's
Mm-hmm.
only 25 tokens, and it costs like 400 tokens to trade a 1-star card.
Yeah.
So you have to burn like so many of those, because you're gonna have a few like 1-star cards like that. Maybe you have a couple extras, and those will get you, I think, 100 of the trade token currency, and then a 4 diamond will get you 125, I think, of the trade currency. So it's just a lot of work. So they need a way for you to be able to get it. I do like that they made it so you can just trade no matter how many cards you have. You don't have to have at least 3, but you do have to keep at least 2 if you're burning them for the trade currency. Like, you can't go under that 2 cap except for trading, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because I traded
So,
you like my 1 Gengar for a Blastoise,
mhm.
which
So
worked
I'm
out. Yeah.
gonna try to keep all my like higher end like art cards that are 1-stars that we can trade, so that if you want any of those to try to complete those secret missions, hopefully we could get those for you too.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun to do it that way. So we'll see. We'll see what the revamped trading is and go from there.
And
Um,
then outside of that, that's pretty much it that I've been playing this week.
yeah, I'm probably tonight or later in the week, I'm gonna look to play A Tale of Paper Refolded, the one that I've got right here. So I'll look to finish that up. It's only a couple more hours, if that, to beat that game. So I'll jump into that. Actually, last I played, I had the flu, so it wasn't like I was 100% into it at that point in time. But I can appreciate the game for what I was playing. So hopefully, I'm not feeling too bad, and I can jump into that. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to dive right into The Witcher. I was thinking I wanted to, but I don't know, man. There's so many other games that I just want to jump into on the PS5 and PS4. So I may just look at the collection one last time before making that decision. Because yeah, there's just so many titles that I picked up in the last year, but I haven't been able to dive into. So we'll see where we go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, speaking of, potentially playing a PC game or a PS5 game or PS4 game, it turns out the console wars are dead. It's over. We're finished, Ryan. So it's the end of an
Pack it
era
up.
for
We could go home.
end of an era for PlayStation and Xbox, and this comes from CBR.com. So really what's covered here is, just kind of the fact that Microsoft is releasing like Indiana Jones, more than likely Fable is going to be coming over, Starfield, Fallout, like all of these titles are going to be making their way over to PlayStation. You would
Forza
imagine
was
that.
just announced last week.
Yeah, that one's hilarious. If you actually look on Twitter, there's comments from people like a year ago. It's like, oh, yeah, I hate it for PlayStation fanboys. They'll never play Forza. It's like, well, that aged well.
Yeah.
There's the announcement. So yeah, Microsoft is shifting a lot of those games to be multi-platform. It's something that we were suspecting that they would do. So I'll eat crow here, and I don't know why, but can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. There you go. Now
Weird.
you're back.
Oh, weird. It just blacked out on my screen.
Yeah, you just kind of like went dark, and I was like, "Oh no, the spirits got him."
But you could hear me still, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's super crazy. Well, whoever hears an audio won't get to experience
Keep it
that. But
rolling.
you can experience it on our YouTube. You can watch me go black screen all of a sudden and disappear. I have no idea what's happening. That is super odd. It's not even showing up on like my Dragon Center or anything like that. Odd. Okay. Well, we will keep it going.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was. So all these games are being ported over now. I'll eat crow here in the sense that the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard and saying, hey, this is going to be terrible, looks like it's actually turning out pretty good. If they're going to be moving towards a more multi-platform approach, and that's exclusively what they're doing moving forward and ditching the hardware, then that benefits gamers long term. So I'll eat crow on that one. Um, but yeah, I mean, in general, that's pretty much what this is covering. It's like, look, Microsoft is far behind Sony, far behind Nintendo. They're going multi-platform. Sony's even releasing games on the PC. It's probably only a matter of time before they start releasing things on Xbox and Nintendo as well. So when you kind of think of it in that respect, the only company that is benefiting from exclusive console games would be Nintendo. And who knows, they may even make a jump as well to start putting their games on other consoles. I doubt it, though. Just
Yeah.
given that, they're
They want too much control. I
well,
mean,
and then
they're not even comfortable with like a chat service, let alone,
yeah,
having whatever goes on, Microsoft and Sony.
Well, and
consoles.
Nintendo's kind of branching out a bit. Like a few years ago, I probably would have said, yeah, there's no chance in hell. I kind of can see it now because they've started to move into other places,
Mobile.
right? So, well, you have mobile that's tied to them. They have been making movies with the Mario Brothers property, TV shows, and things like, and not like they never had like a Mario Bros. TV show movie in the past, but they're diving into a little bit more so now than they have in years past. So yeah, the mobile component, that piece, of course, they have board games and Lego and all of these other types of properties that they have out there. They're trying to sue grocery store chains, apparently. If you haven't seen that one, go look up Super Mario out of Costa Rica. They tried to sue a little grocery store chain and they actually lost on that one, which is great. But they're expanding, right? That footprint of Nintendo. And I'm kind of wondering if they start having a little bit more of that like revenue coming in from different, cash flows, is that going to be justification for them to say, you know what? We can afford to put Mario over on, PlayStation or Pokemon on Xbox, whatever it may be, or on PC. So I'm curious what the future holds for Nintendo, but historically they have been more geared towards like we're going to push as many consoles as we can. But given the breadth of things that they're doing outside of consoles, I could see them jumping into other spaces for other, you know.
I think that at its core, Nintendo likes to make hardware innovations and
Mhm.
tie that in with their games. So I feel like, the Switch 2 is definitely a really safe option for them, but they're going to make a ton of money on this. And then whenever, it's time for Switch 3, they'll probably not do a Switch 3 and they'll do something with whatever is new and available and try to be innovative from there. Whereas, Sony and Microsoft are a lot more kind of like bottom line, we're trying to move like games and stuff. Now, reading all this today, like, um, kind of tying it into the other article that we had, like Microsoft, yeah, with their multi-platform approach, I mean, they're basically just saying, you know what? We've already basically lost out on the console. Like, we're not really making a lot of money off of the hardware. Like, it's mostly just the games that we're making, anyways. So we might as well put those out everywhere.
Their
And then you've
sales are
got,
actually lagging behind the Xbox One. The Series
yeah,
X is doing worse than the Xbox One did. So that's not good
yeah,
at all because that one was pretty much a failure.
yeah. And then Sony, I mean, they've got strong console sales. But I think that one of the things that they've also had is strong partnerships and, limited exclusivities for things that aren't Sony first party. So like they've been able to keep Square Enix, just keeping the majority of their newer titles on their platform. So they're getting all the benefit of those sales. But if you take away the Xbox and you take away the PlayStation, like the box, the console itself, Xbox is still going to be the largest publisher. They're
Mhm.
still going to be putting out all these games. Sony only has their first party companies, but like because they sell so many consoles, every digital game sale that sells on that console, they get a cut. Every time you do a Fortnite transaction or a microtransaction in any game on that console, Sony gets a cut. So if Sony is now just releasing their games on PC, and there is no actual console for them, I feel like they're in a place where they're actually going to lose out on a lot more money than Xbox is going to, because Xbox really isn't getting that big of that revenue because they're not selling that many consoles to begin with. But like at the end of the day, like all those majority of games being sold digitally as opposed to physically, that's got to add up to a huge amount of extra money for Sony for games that they don't have to pay any money to publish whatsoever. So like I'm actually kind of worried that depending on what they really decide to do, and if they really decide to keep wasting everybody's time, like the recent revelation that Blue Point was working on a multiplayer live service God of War game, and it's like, that's what they've been wasting the last 4 or 5 years doing. Like, they could have remade Bloodborne and everybody could be so happy right now. Or, they could have invested all that money that they put into Concord. Like, Sony's not making the best decisions. And we'll see where where things go from here, or if the console wars are really dead, and who is really going to be kind of on top when things really turn around to the next big venture.
I think they're dead, to be honest. Like at this point, with Microsoft kind of essentially throwing in a towel and saying, "Hey, we're going to start putting our games onto Sony consoles." That's it, right? Like you have to have two consoles to be able to have a war, and you can't exactly throw Nintendo into the mix. Say, "Oh yeah, it's Nintendo versus Sony now," because there really isn't a comparison between those two. I mean,
Yeah.
hardware wise, they are not a mirror match in terms of hardware. And the games that are on there, it's predominantly, I'm not going to say it's only kids based games, but it's more geared towards families, right? And so
Mhm.
there really isn't a war. Like that's it. I think that's it. It's done at that point. Now, unless Sega comes out of the woodwork somehow,
Sega.
that'd be hilarious, actually. I think
Atari's
it's
still out there fighting like anybody cares.
Atari's gonna be like in that situation where all the dust is settled, everything is multi-platform except Atari, and they're like, "We won. That's it."
We made a brand new proprietary Pong machine.
Yeah, so I think it's done, dude. I think it's a done deal. Console wars are over.
Mhm.
But as it states at the end of my article there, you never know. Given the cost of PC likely going up here in the next few months due to tariffs and things of that nature, it could sway people to go towards consoles again. I don't know if you saw the new like Nvidia 5000 series cards, but they're going for like $6,000 to $10,000 on eBay right now.
It's
And they were
crazy.
already overpriced to begin with because it wasn't like a
Yeah.
huge leap in terms of graphics and performance. You know, card to card between the 4000 series and 5000. Not a huge leap from what I know.
Yeah,
So
diminishing returns.
yeah.
People
So
really wanna see them try to make, like, a good budget card instead of trying to make, like, these top extraordinarily expensive cards.
I think the 5070 is supposed to be like their budget card, if I recall. And then AMD, I want to say, has jumped out as far as like high end cards. So it seems like they're going to be waiting a little bit here. I might
Mhm.
get their, what is it, their 7000 series card. I might get one of those. Right now, I've got like a 6700 XT, I think it is. So I might look into the 7000 series, but I'm not sure yet. So,
Nice.
yeah. All
Well,
right.
we got the receipts from December, and Microsoft was the number one games publisher in the world last month. They did 465 million in revenue from Microsoft games over December, making it the biggest publisher across Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. Seconded was who was it?
Seconded.
EA at 366 million. So I mean, a cool 100 million more than second place. That's that's some big numbers. I mean, they had some good titles that they put out there, and I think that this is a trend that we're going to see continue to go. I mean, bleh, after the last article that we just talked about, it makes a lot of sense to, see those numbers really showing that story. The other biggest kind of keynote from this article was just saying that China had some big numbers too. For the first time in the top 10, we've got Tencent coming in at number 5 and NetEase coming in at number 9 on the top 10 publishers. So, I mean, that's going to show a big change in the world here moving forward. I think that China and their games are really going to start to see a lot more appearance in the West, and not just like gotcha games. I mean, like bigger titles like Black Myth Wukong and things like that. And then with, I mean, honestly, who knows? All this is probably going to be meaningless once Grand Theft Auto comes out, because it's just going to
Oh
be its
yeah.
own like GDP at that point.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 when that comes out, no other game is going to exist at that point in time.
Yeah.
It's just going to be GTA 6. Um, and considering that GTA 5 has been out since what, the PlayStation 3,
Hmm.
and it's spanned 3 generations of consoles, which is insane. I'm kind of scared to see what GTA 6 does because that is
Oh, we're gonna be playing the GTA 6 until the heat death of the universe. There's not gonna be time to make a 7.
Dude, GTA 6 is tied to Florida. That's going to be insane. Like I cannot wait, dude. It's going to be so much fun. Like I have not purchased a GTA game for full price, and this might be the first one I do it for.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep. Well, speaking of, well, before we dive in actually in the inflation deflation, just saw in my comments here for them being the number one game publisher in the month of December. I think they're going to continue it. I think it's going to keep going for them. I can see them, even if it's not like every month, I think they're going to be in the top 5 pretty consistently across the board,
Yeah.
as especially as they start putting games onto PlayStation and onto Nintendo. They may stay number 1 for many years to come, but I can see them kind of like bouncing back and forth depending on like what titles are being released and when.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, to go back to the console war being dead, I think that's proof right there, right? They're really focusing in on the publishing aspect. They've kind of ditched the hardware. There will still be a place for hardware, of course. They've noted that. They still want to be able to produce hardware and have that in market. I don't necessarily. I've said this is the last Xbox console. It still could be the case, depending on how they start doing with their publishing. If it continues in this direction and Xbox sales continue to stagnate, then yeah, we could see a situation where Microsoft just halts production of any next gen console coming forward and then decides to just go all in on supporting from a publishing aspect, especially if the Xbox loses that money, right? You would figure that's going to be a very valid reason to stop that, or they maybe go smaller device, hooks up to the TV type of situation, like we've heard in the past, like kind of like a Fire Stick. I think it was one of the things we
Yeah.
discussed in the past. So they could go that direction as well and just have some sort of compatibility tied with different TVs and then just a controller, which wouldn't be a true console. It'd be more of a Game Pass machine at that point.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely give that a shot. Once like it kind of gets in line with the price point. I don't think that they were able to make it last year or 2 years ago at the price point they wanted to. So, that's just kind of a matter of time and Game Pass numbers making that something that they want to invest in. I do still strongly feel that they will make a big push for that handheld to come out just so that they can make a good Microsoft handheld OS and really push that interface so that they can just kind of be the default on all those platforms, get a storefront out there so that when you're buying from Microsoft, you're buying from them on their own store and they're not having to pay Steam royalties as much or, you know, Nintendo royalties if you're buying their game on the Switch too, or if Sony tries to make another handheld, they'll make more money on all these like ROG allies and everything that can run their OS. So I think that that'll probably happen, but beyond that, I really wouldn't expect another box that nobody is really buying.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, diving into our inflation deflation, we played some Goblin Commander Unleash the Horde on PlayStation 2. This was developed by Jalico Entertainment and published by Jalico Entertainment, designed by Ronald Miller Sr., and it was released in November of 2003. It is an RTS game with some light action type combat play that goes through there, and reception was around a 6 to 8 out of 10. Ryan, what is Goblin Commander Unleash the Horde about?
So, in the land of Ogris, you play as the Goblin Grommel of the Stone Crusher clan, created amongst several other factions by the wizard Fraziel to help him construct a great machine. And in the beginning of the game, there's a big explosion and a cave in. Fraziel dies and he leaves you with one last word, brother. And you set off to try to find his killer and unite with your other goblin clansmen. And that's kind of where we go. And this
I'm,
was a go ahead.
I'm gonna ruin it for all the Goblin Commander fans out there. Fraziel to me sounds like the Franzia wine. You remember like that opaque, cheap ass like $3 wine from CVS and such? Has like
I
the
was
random
thinking of
fruits.
Frasier. Reminds me
Oh,
of Frasier.
that could be it too. It could be Fraser Franzia wine.
Fraziel.
Yeah, yeah. The Goblin. Yeah, oh, maybe it's Fraziel. He's a wizard who happens to watch Frasier as he drinks Frazia.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, and that's how he came up the idea to create the Great Machine.
The Great Machine was just a machine that generates infinite episodes of Frasier
And Frazia.
in France. Yeah.
Just um
I need a better wine distiller. I'll make goblets. They'll do that.
will do it for me. Yeah, crush stone and
Yeah.
get souls and gold. Yeah, I mean if you want to go into the controls, you played a bit
Okay.
yesterday and then I'll dive in and add my little bit.
Yeah. So it is a real-time strategy on a console. As we've seen this month, there's lots of those, and they've been doing that for a long time. So nothing quite new here from that, except for the fact that it does have like a pretty interesting mode where you can take control over units, and kind of go into like a third-person actiony kind of combat mode. There's not really much depth or anything to it. It's just instead of clicking and commanding your units to go over here, you can kind of go and be in one of them and move around, have your goblin horde follow you, and there's like these big titans that you can get for your army. The base building, I don't know, we didn't get too much into it, but it doesn't really seem like there's actually like a lot of base building mechanic. There's more kind of like a hub store that you go to and generate units and buy upgrades for them. You have a pretty small unit count. You can't like split your goblins and kind of like have, you know, half your horde over here and half your horde over here. I think you kind of command them all as like one horde. Maybe later on in the game when you get other factions under you, maybe you can command those separately. It was pretty intuitive. The controls were not that hard. It was a lot of kind of tutorializing at the beginning, but it did it in bits and pieces where it was like, okay, you know, here's what you got to do, go do it. And it wasn't too, I don't know, too much reading. It allowed you to like fast forward through all the cutscenes a little bit. Like this game felt like it wanted you to get the message pretty quick and then get on with the game. I think overall it's like a 7-hour game or something from one of the
Yeah.
videos that I was listening to this morning. So um overall I think it looked pretty good. Music was pretty good. Um it is one of those games that I always remember seeing the cover on the shelf at GameStop forever. So this is kind of like an iconic cover for me, even though it's not like, I don't know, that amazing of a game. I will always remember this game cover for some reason.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I watched you yesterday as I watched my son play the game, and you went through the bulk of the tutorial, and then I dove into some missions today. And the missions were very, very straightforward. It was like, okay, go ahead and upgrade your weapons with the gold that you've gathered from, you know, destroying buildings. You have these like soul, like you can gather souls from these like soul fountains, essentially. So it helps you create your army for the most part. So like X amount of souls are needed to get like different types of goblins, and then like if you want the giant goblin, you need X amount of souls to get him.
And they're
But
not like traditional mining in like other
yeah,
games where you have like units running back and forth. You just kind of run around the map and smash stuff and just get rewards.
yeah, pretty much. And you do control that one unit for the most part. So this one was like, hey, your mission is to go forward to this clan and destroy their base. That was it. So you just go, you kill a few different enemies, destroy their base. And it's like, cool, you collected X amount of gold, X amount of souls. On to the next mission. And so this to me felt like it was more story focused, which I like. That's kind of a good thing, right? Um, so really like each part of the campaign that we were playing goes through like the whole civil war of the different goblins and trying to figure out why the great machine was destroyed and trying to conquer all of the different goblin factions to make them one, hence being the Goblin Commander. So Grommel being the protagonist of the story, you predominantly play his clan, as you said, and then progress through to try and get those other clans on your side. I would think I would agree with you in terms of the music being pretty good overall. It holds up from an art standpoint or graphic standpoint. Given that it's a 22-year-old game now, definitely held up. Actually, was it 22? Almost
It's
22.
2003.
It is 21 years old at the moment until November of this year. So yeah, dude, I think overall it wasn't too bad of a game. it just for me was lacking the depth of what I would expect from an RTS. When I think RTS, I'm thinking StarCraft, Command and Conquer, even Halo Wars has more depth to it. This didn't really have it. It's story focused, but you're controlling 10 goblins and you're shooting them on over to one area of the map to go ahead and complete an objective. Oh, a couple goblins die. Okay, let's go back to the home hub, create a few more, and then have them go over there. It's cool being able to transition into like that third party or third person view though, and get that close up look as your horde is actively attacking and destroying different buildings and creatures. I wish other RTS games did something like that, and some of them I'm sure do. But in general, this one really wasn't for me long term, and I can't see myself putting in 6 to 8 hours of this game and not getting bored long term on the game.
Yeah, I mean, when I try to think about this game, the the person that I would recommend this game to would be somebody who had a PlayStation 2 when it was the current console, and they went and rented this game at Blockbuster, and they had to keep it all weekend and beat it and like made it through start to finish. Because like people in the videos that I've watched that have played this game say that it's pretty fun and that, you know, they had a good time with it. But I think that they're all kind of looking back at it through nostalgia and they're revisiting this title. I don't think that there's really enough there to, like you said, really make me want to hold myself to finishing this game. But if I had rented this back in the day and I was going to have it all weekend anyways, I would have probably, you know, hey, you got it, you might as well get through it if you can. It's just not a lot of pull there for me, and that makes it a little bit difficult on this. When we look at brass tacks here, we got completed box 1099, peaked at 1350 back in November 2023. It's trending up. Loose 815, peaks at 1099 back in February 2024, trending down. I mean, neither of those is that outrageously expensive. I
Yeah.
would pay $10 because I like the cover art, but I would never actually probably play this game. So it's kind of hard to justify it being worth the $10. Like, unless you've really got that nostalgia pull for it, I kind of just see it as like maybe just right.
It does have a two-player mode that you can actually skirmish against one another. So that could be one of those situations where, 11 bucks, not bad. You and a buddy just kind of pick it up and say, hey, let's screw around with this game, battle each other for a few hours. I mean, I always look at it from, again, like that cost of a movie ticket for a game that's this price point. I could go watch a movie right now and spend 10, 15 bucks, go hang out for 2 hours in a theater, pay a boatload of money for popcorn, sit on my butt during that time. Or I could have a friend over and we could play this
See,
game for
I don't think it's
$11
fair to
together,
include the popcorn because you could make popcorn while you're playing a video game too.
and it would still be cheaper. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, but
No,
like
but
the
okay, cost
ticket is not.
the ticket is still like $10 to $15 depending on where you go.
Mhm.
If you go to Fat Cats, then yeah, you got like certain days where it's $5 a ticket. I think it's actually 6 now. But most times it's 10 to
Darn
15
you,
bucks.
inflation.
Darn you. But yeah, let's just say $12 average ticket. So 12 bucks, go watch a movie for 2 hours or play this with a buddy for 2 hours, maybe more. You're probably going to get more time out of this game and spending that quality time with a friend than if you just sat in a movie theater next to each other quietly. So,
Yeah,
in my opinion, just right on this one.
same.
Yeah.
I guess of note, we did look up the most expensive version of this because you can get it on other consoles as well, GameCube and Xbox. It was multi-platform. It's going for $52.75 on the GameCube complete in box, and we were kind of speculating. I don't know if it's maybe just because the GameCube is a pretty collectible library, so if you're trying to have that complete collection, each of those pieces is going to be worth probably more to individual collectors than it is on another console where there's like thousands of games.
I don't
I don't know.
know. It
Maybe
maybe
it was
it's
a
a
low
better
print run.
could be that, could be a better version technically. But to pay 52.75 on this, if the purpose was to play it, absolutely not worth it. Now, if
Mhm.
you're paying $11 on PlayStation 2, I would imagine it's probably a little cheaper on Xbox. I don't know if you looked that up. We don't have
Yeah,
to, but
so on Xbox it's $7.99 for a loose or 1086 complete. So
okay,
I
so
mean you're
about the
paying
same.
$10 about wherever.
Yeah. And any store you go to, like a secondhand game store for a used copy, you're probably going to find this around $10, or you could even negotiate down to $10 if you really wanted to.
There you go.
So, all right. What are we playing next? I don't think we decided, did we? Oh, we were
No,
going to play iconic characters,
Oh
iconic game
yeah, yeah,
characters.
yeah. So we
So,
hadn't exactly decided, but I think we were thinking, what was it going to be like? Sly, Mega Man,
Crash Bandicoot,
uh,
I think.
Crash Bandicoot, and then was it
Ico-
Jack and Dexter or Pac Man?
it was Jack and Daxter.
Jack and Dexter.
Yeah. So we got Sly Cooper, Mega Man, Jack and Daxter, and Crash Bandicoot. That's going to be an interesting lineup. So don't know which games out of those franchises we're playing yet. Maybe it'll be the first one. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. But until then, this has been episode 326 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.